When it comes to delegating ADA and choosing a stake pool, it can feel a bit overwhelming at times, but I'm here to assure you that with a little bit of information, it'll be much easier to narrow down a pool. And we're going to start this video by looking at the rewards mechanism. And this is going to give us a bit of context when I explain later on why your delegation is much more important than you probably think it is. The two main objectives of the Cardano rewards mechanism can be summed up in this way. First, get as many people as possible to stake. We currently have about 63% of all the ADA in circulation staked. The reason for this is that the more total ADA that is staked, the more secure the platform becomes. And second, the mechanism is designed to make sure the leverage of individual players is kept low. You don't want individuals or single entities to have exorbitant amounts of leverage over the protocol, and that can happen when small groups of people control a large amount of ADA. Pretty simple, right? Get every ADA holder to stake and make sure no one has too much leverage. And the first one, we're all doing that right now. If you're talking about Cardano, if you're helping new ADA holders on the forum, Reddit, Twitter, YouTube, anywhere, we're all making the effort to inform people newly getting into Cardano or perhaps even rediscovering it of what's taking place and help them understand staking and delegation, and that's evident by the fact that the staked amount continues to rise. However, the second part about keeping leverage low is a little bit more of a complicated situation. Let's take a look at some numbers and go over to pooltool.io. So first thing I'd like to mention is there's 19.94 billion ADA staked. Now we're going to go down here and click Show 50 Results. Then we're going to go to Consolidation and consolidate pools to their relative owners. Then we're going to sort by active stake from highest to lowest. And if we pull back and take a look at this data, what we can see is that in this first column right here, there are 212 pools. And those 212 pools control 15.68 billion of the actively staked ADA. And those 212 pools are controlled by 50 entities. Put another way, 17% of the pools control 78% of the ADA that is being staked. Now, this is a very broad interpretation of this information because there are a lot of factors that can be misleading, such as pools that are registered but not really active, along with IOG's pools, just to name a few. But what I'm really trying to shine a light on right now is leverage. And leverage is calculated based on how much ADA a stake pool, or more importantly, the pool operator, especially if they control multiple pools, has pledged versus how much they have delegated to them. And what we're seeing right now is in some cases relatively high amounts of leverage. And so delegating to these pools would not be ideal if the goal is decentralization. Keeping in mind again that the objectives are to get everyone to stake and keep leverage low. And you might be thinking, well, why not just impose some kind of rules to stop this leverage thing from being an issue? And that's just not how a free and open system works. Everyone is free to delegate to whoever they want to. Your delegation is your vote. And it might be no surprise that a lot of the pools that have the most leverage are also the pools that have low margins. And low margin pools might sound great, but it's really short-term gains at the cost of long-term network health. The business model behind low margin pools requires that single entities run many pools because a single low margin pool is not profitable. And basic economics tells us that when margins are especially low, you are going to have to rely on volume to make up for that long term. And what it does is it consolidates large amounts of ADA into single entities through multiple pools. The promise of very low margins to maximize returns for delegators at launch, when most stake pools had margins ranging between 3 and 5%, meant that a large amount of ADA was staked to those low margin pools early on. The challenge for any ecosystem which sees players start to compete purely on price, or in this case, low percentage fees, is that it encourages what's known as a race to the bottom, slashing fees as low as 0% as an approach to attract delegators and be competitive. This is not an ideal situation, because stake pool operators should be fairly compensated for the work they do, and in some cases stake pool operators use those fees to help create things for the Cardano ecosystem. If you want qualified, skilled people to run the network, you can't expect to pay them as little as possible. Everyone in this community right now is contributing to the roster of stake pool operators that are going to help run the network, and the more spread out the ADA, the more decentralized it is and the safer and more secure it is. When it comes time to delegate or possibly even redelegate during this K parameter change, look at how you can help the network be stronger and more sustainable in the long term. It should also be noted that if you were to delegate 10K to pools with similar stats, the difference between 1% and 3% is about 11 ADA per year. So I'd really encourage you not to focus so much on what the fee is that the pool is charging and look more into who is operating the pool and what they're doing for the community. You may want to move to a new pool spun up by an operator you've already been delegated to, and that's totally cool. Many of these people bring value to the network as established players who've already won your attention and your stake, but it's worth taking a moment to think about leverage. And we should also understand that the reality is that some people might automatically be delegating to pools, not understanding or considering the leverage aspect of the protocol, and that the network will be more healthy and sustainable if there is a wide range of diversity and the ADA is more spread out. So before you make the obvious choice, consider trying out something different for a few epochs. When it comes to delegating, I'm not going to tell you who to delegate to. That's up to you. I'm only going to show you the landscape. You should always do your own research so you can make an informed choice. It's important to remember that how things seem at the moment are only temporary. Cardano is coming alive right now, and features that will help solve known issues are on the way. It just takes a bit of time and patience. As a delegator, every day your choices are growing as more and more stake pools develop their marketing skills and become more visible. It's no secret that visible faces in the community and on YouTube that run a good pool operation do well, and rightly so. People know who they are, and you can get a sense of character by watching them. And when it comes time to delegate, who are you going to go with? The person you trust and that's been helping you, keeping you informed, or a 5-letter name in Daedalus? So reward the many excellent contributors that we have in our community for all they do. And remember to make good choices, because as much as the core protocols and parameters will take us to where we need to be, your choice will determine how fast and how smoothly we get to where we all want to be.